the arranged union, the diplomatic vessel. Harmony's promise glided through the void like a jewel cutting through black silk. Inside its crystalline corridors, Princess Zephyra of the Luminan Dominion stood before a viewport, her forearms crossed in a posture her tutors would have called unbecoming of royalty. She watched the blue-green planet growing larger in the distance, this Earth place, and felt nothing but resignation settling in her chest like cold stone. 23 cycles she had lived, and in all that time, she had imagined many futures for herself, leading military campaigns like her mother, studying the ancient sciences like her uncle, perhaps even exploring the uncharted regions beyond the Veil Nebula. Never once had she imagined this, a political bargaining chip, shipped across star systems to marry a creature from a species barely 2 centuries into space travel. Her attendant, Mora, approached with careful steps, her own 3 eyes cast downward respectfully. "The preliminary reports have arrived, Your Highness. Shall I display them?" Zephyra gestured with her upper left hand, and holographic data sprang to life before her. She scanned the information about her intended husband with growing disappointment. Captain Dane Corrigan, age 32 in Earth years, former military, now serving in their diplomatic corps. The image showed a male human with brown hair, unremarkable features and eyes that seemed to hold nothing of interest. He wore a simple uniform devoid of the medals or ceremonial ornaments that would mark a true warrior among her people. "He looks soft," Zephyra muttered. Her skin shifted from its usual azure to a darker, troubled blue. No combat scars visible, no enhancement implants, no battle honors displayed. What manner of warrior carries himself with such plainness? Perhaps humans express status differently, Mora offered carefully. Or perhaps they have no status worth expressing. Zephyra turned from the viewport. The Luminan Empire had stood for 12,000 years. They had conquered 17 star systems through superior technology and combat prowess. Every member of the royal family trained from childhood in the arts of war and leadership. And now, to secure mining rights to some rare elements on 3 backwater colonies, her father was marrying her to this primitive species. The humans are known for their adaptability, Your Highness. The reports say they spread across their galaxy with remarkable speed. Speed means nothing without strength. Zephyra's skin flickered with hints of red, betraying her anger. They have no natural weapons, no enhanced physiology, no psionic abilities. They compensate with tools and machines like children playing at being warriors. She looked at the image again, at those calm brown eyes that seemed so ordinary. What could such a creature possibly teach me? What could we possibly share? The vessel shuddered slightly as it began its descent toward Earth's orbital station. Within hours, Zephyra would meet her husband for the first time. The wedding ceremony would follow immediately after, as was traditional in diplomatic unions where love was irrelevant and only the contract mattered. She changed from her traveling robes into her ceremonial wedding armor. The crystal plates had been in her family for generations, each one inscribed with the names of ancestors who had worn them into battle. The deep blue matched her royal lineage, and the fitted design allowed for full mobility in combat. Even in marriage, a Luminan princess prepared for war. The docking proceeded smoothly. Zephyra emerged into the orbital station's greeting chamber with Mora, and 6 of her personal guards flanking her. The humans had attempted to decorate the space with both Luminan and Earth aesthetics, creating an awkward blend of crystal sculptures and potted plants. Representatives from both governments stood in formal rows, their faces fixed in diplomatic smiles that fooled no one. And there, at the center, stood Captain Dane Corrigan. He was taller than she expected, though still shorter than her own considerable height. His formal attire was simple, almost severe in its lack of ornamentation, a dark suit that humans apparently considered appropriate for state occasions. His hands, she noticed, were clasped calmly before him, and his expression was one of quiet patience rather than the nervous excitement or hungry ambition she had expected. When their eyes met, he bowed, not the deep, submissive bow of a lesser being, but a respectful acknowledgement between equals. Something about that gesture irritated her more than groveling would have. "Princess Zephyra," he said, his voice steady and unremarkable. "It is an honor to meet you. I hope our union brings prosperity to both our peoples." The translator in her ear rendered his words in perfect Luminan, but she caught the cadence of his native tongue underneath. It sounded blunt and unsophisticated compared to the musical quality of her own language. "Captain Corrigan," she replied, her own words measured and cool. Let us proceed with the ceremony. I see no purpose in Yan prolonging the formalities. If he was offended by her curtness, his face showed nothing. He simply nodded and turned toward the ceremonial space that had been prepared. The wedding itself was a strange hybrid of traditions. Luminan priests spoke the ancient binding words while human officials read from their legal documents. Zephyra recited her vows in a voice that carried no warmth, each word a piece of duty fulfilled. Dane spoke his own promises with that same steady calm that was beginning to unnerve her. Did nothing penetrate that exterior? Did he feel no shame at being elevated so far above his station through this marriage? When the moment came to exchange tokens, Zephyra presented him with a crystal shard from her family's ancestral forge, the minimum acceptable offering. He accepted it with care, examining its facets with what appeared to be genuine appreciation before securing it in his jacket. Then he withdrew his own gift. It was a ring, simple metal with a small blue stone. Nothing of value, nothing that spoke of power or prestige. Just a plain band that he offered with both hands. This belonged to my grandmother, he said quietly, so only she could hear beneath the ceremonial music. She gave it to my grandfather when he returned from a war he never wanted to fight. It represents the hope that peace is always worth more than victory. Zephyra took the ring because protocol demanded it, but the words meant nothing to her. Peace without strength was simply surrender with better marketing. She slipped the ring onto one of her smaller fingers and felt its negligible weight. The ceremony concluded. They were husband and wife now, bound by treaties and contracts that would benefit their respective governments while meaning nothing to either of their hearts. At the reception, she watched him move through the crowd. He spoke with the same quiet demeanor to everyone, admirals and ambassadors, junior officers and servants. He seemed to make no distinction based on rank or species. Several times she caught alien dignitaries laughing at him behind his back, amused by the human who had married so far above his station. Her own guards made no effort to hide their contempt. One of them, Commander Thex, leaned close during the meal. Your Highness, if you require protection from your new husband, you need only give the word. We understand humans can be unpredictable in their primitive passions. Zephyra glanced at Dane, who sat quietly eating his food, seemingly oblivious to the mockery surrounding him. I doubt he poses any threat. Look at him. He cannot even be bothered to defend his own honor against whispers. As if sensing her gaze, Dane looked up and met her eyes. For just a moment she thought she saw something beneath that calm exterior. Not anger or hurt, but something else entirely, something watchful and patient. Then he smiled slightly and returned to his meal, and she decided she had imagined it. The reception ended. The contracts were signed, and Princess Zephyra found herself bound to a human she had already dismissed as harmless, never suspecting that harmless was simply another word for patient, and that patience was often the most dangerous quality a warrior could possess.